All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for a special edition of Leverage Lane. We've got the Thanksgiving edition. Happy early American Thanksgiving to all my American friends. I'll be celebrating with you all tomorrow, watching football, eating good food, having some drinks, hanging out with friends and family. So hope everyone's setting up for that as well. But we appreciate you joining us. Make sure to hit that thumbs up on the way in and subscribe to the channel. We're closer to 12,000 subscribers than I thought as we continue to grow. So certainly appreciate that. Got Alex here with me as always, Mr. Blickle, and then got Hoopster joining us for a special edition of Leverage Lane. So we'll talk some Thanksgiving stuff on the way in. I was just talking to Hoopster pre-show, and it's pasta at the Hoopsterville there. It's not going to be turkey, as you guys know, but Hoop, I'll bring you in, special guest on this one this week with us. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. A great time of year. And then if you're a football, DFS, sports betting fan, it's like the best day ever. You get games stacked on top of each other, so a lot of fun. So happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with the friends and family. Honored to be here on the Leverage Lane show. It's a great series that you guys have been putting out all season long, and I know a lot of people have won a lot of money following along with your guys' content on this show. So honored to be here, and hoping we can find our way to the winner's circle on Thanksgiving. Massive prize pools across the industry. I don't love what DK did with their contests, the $5 milli and then the $4,000 milli. I like something somewhere in the middle, like a 25 or 100, but we got to work with the hand that we're dealt. And again, there's other big contests and prize pools and stuff on DraftKings and FanDuel and other places as well. So looking forward to talk through it. And the one thing that definitely stands out, and we all kind of mentioned it before the show, it's pretty rare when you have these 2 and 3 game slates where every offense has some appealing. A lot of times we're stuck with like 1 or 2 shitters, and it's really not the case today. Like every offense has some appeal. So definitely interested to talk through it all with you guys here today.
Yeah, I think you broke it down really good there. I'll bring Alex here in a second, but to your note, Hoop, they gave you a little bit of a turkey on the outside with the $5 milli maker, not your favorite. They gave you a little bit of rare steak with the 44 mega milli, but in the middle, they loaded you up with pasta and all the fixings of what you like, because I got to give DraftKings credit for the amount I said about I just don't like the high-low of it, Alex. I'll get to you in a second and bring you in. But we're talking about the $5 versus the 44. It's like such a polarizing split when they could easily fill a $100 milli maker for the day, and how much people love it. I think a lot of people would rather throw 1 in the 100 than 20 in the $5. But either way, it's there. But they did load us up throughout the middle with some 5 max, some 3 max, some great structures, all these different price points across the board. So Alex, my man, what's going on with you? How you doing? And getting excited for this holiday coming up.
Yeah, I love this slate. This is one of my favorite slates every year. And as we said, I can't remember the last Thanksgiving where it was 3 good games. So this is it's going to be fun. It also changes the dynamic of the slate because ownership's going to be more spread out. It brings late swap even more into play because it means you can literally go anywhere, but there's also isn't then a clear, there's no offense that you can say, oh, by simply betting on this offense, I'm playing this slate in a very contrarian way. Every single offense is viable. So every offense is going to get some ownership,
which is going to be awesome when we go through it. For those that are new to the show and the format, we're going to try and stick similar to it. There's only 3 games, but we're going to talk about ownership, going to go through, sort of look at it. And it's easy because position by position works well for the 3-gamer and knowing what's going on at quarterback. We know at running back, you got the Derrick Henrys of the world, the Jamar Chase at wide receiver, Mark Andrews at tight end. You can kind of figure that out. But then we're going to talk a lot about how you can leverage the common build. And on a 3-game slate, it kind of matters whether you're playing 1 or 150. There's differences for sure, but it's all how you're sort of building it out from the starting point. So this will make sense. And then at the end, I don't even know if we queued Hoop up for this, but I know he's tuned into enough shows to know, but you will pick a lane at the end that you end up in. We'll see where Hoopster ends up with his leverage lane and wants to go this week specifically for something like a single entry or a main. But some good calls last week, Alex. I'll stay with you, Mr. JSN. And by the way, quick note for everybody, just content only. This is a special show this week. Wanted to add this in to cover it for you guys. We will have the cash game show with Hoop and Title. tomorrow. We'll have the Friday football game with Ham and Nades recorded out tomorrow. Alex and I will be back on Saturday for the main slate, Leverage Lane, and then we'll be back, Hoop, Title, and myself on Sunday for the main show here on the channel. So again, make sure to subscribe, all free shows across the board. But Alex, yeah, great call on JSN last week, just dialing it in. I almost got there. Hurts, Brown, and Smith started out really strong. It fell apart a little bit after that first half, but it was good. Solid week overall.
Yeah, that was a strange slate. I can't stand how high scoring these slates have been. Because if you remember, like, way back in week 1, I finished 7th in the mega milli, ended up making $50,000, almost made $1 million. I think I had more points this past week from Jameis, Wandale, Gibbs, and JSN combined than I did in that entire week 1 lineup. Yeah. And I barely got them in cash out of it. So it's just like, what the hell, man? It's been so tough this year to have every single aspect correct when so many guys on every slate are having these huge games.
This is a good comment. Yeah, that's so true. This one's good. New guy, Hoop. Yeah, we're very lucky. You have one of the, when we get a special guest, it's not just anybody. It's one of the best to ever do it. So we're thankful. Imagine we pulled the strings here at Ship It Nation. We were able to get one of the co-founders on with us. Imagine that. So Hoopster, excited to have you here, man. Well, you know the format of the show a little bit, but before we get into it, I want to ask you, how do you handle this? I mean, we teased about bitching about like the $5 milli. What makes me laugh about that a little bit is that it's almost like they think people have more time on the holidays. Like you got a late swap on a staggered start, or you have to get more lineups in. Like, why wouldn't they just jam the $100 milli for the one day, let everyone build their lineup and be happy, hit or miss for 100K and feel good? But do you have any thoughts on handling it? Because I think a lot of people will play, 10 to 15, 10 to 20 lineups in that $5, and then others will max it. So what sort of is your thoughts around building out on a 3-game slate like this where you have a staggered start?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, really what you're trying to do. I mean, the $5 milli has 600,000 people in it, like 600,000. So it's absolutely insane. You're going to have the absolute nuts to win it. If you're doing it for entertainment purposes, you want to build 20 teams and, put, what's that, $100 in play, like, if you're doing it just simply for entertainment purposes, go for it. But if you're trying to actually profit some money, I would avoid that contest and go to something else. I mean, I would definitely look to play in, I haven't looked at the full offerings that they have, but like, I'm sure there's like a 20 max somewhere in there, a $3 20 max. Like you'd be much better off playing in that. But they know what they're doing. I mean, $5, people are going to say, I'd rather go for $1 milli. And then what is the $3 top prize is 25,000. So what's that, like a 20x multiplier on the top prize or something along those lines. So it's tough. I mean, it's $5 though, and people are going to want to play that, have a chance at $1 milli. But man, the 600,000 people up top, you got to have like the absolute nuts to win it, I'm sure, and probably as a chop or so. I don't know. Who knows?
What about you, Alex? I mean, the best thing about what you do is you walk the walk, talk the talk. You do it exactly the same way. If you were to go outside your box this week and jam, 150 lineups into that $5, whatever it might be, or even 20 plus, I don't know if you do, but obviously the prize pool is insane and the amount of entries. How would you handle something like that? What's your thoughts around it?
Yeah, I'm actually considering that this week because I do think this is the kind of slate where if I'm going to do it, it's going to be one like this. My family's very good about letting me watch as much football as I want. So if I need to make a late swap, I'll be able to do it. So, I like that because I do think less of the field is going to be late swapping. So many people are going to be just kind of hanging with family and things of that nature. But I think one of the biggest thoughts that I have is if I'm competing with 600,000 people, I'm probably not getting there by having like the exact perfect combination of players. I think it's much more likely that, if you think, so 1 out of 600,000, right? That's lower than, a 0.1% outcome of a game. So I'm going to try to shoot for a 0.1% outcome from someone like, Dontavian Wicks or Keaton Mitchell or Tyquan Thornton, one of these really, really, really low owned guys who's probably going to ruin your lineup, but that 0.1% outcome from that one player really puts you in a position to kind of, separate from the rest of the field. So I think I'd have some kind of rule, like at least one guy under 5% or at least 2 guys under 5%, something crazy like that, where I'm really trying to find that separation from the field that way instead of just trying to nail the exact perfect combination.
Agreed. And I think that's the key way to do it. I think a lot of people do some crazy stuff in it, and that's fine too, because you can get crazy to win a 600,000 person tournament. But, I'm not going to cap at 49K just so I can say I have 150 uniques and know that they're even more unique. I think you could still get away with things like you just talked about. There's tons of anti-correlation. I'm not, the defense versus the quarterback, fine, like all this stuff, or 5 players from one side and the defense on the other. This stuff all can happen because it's only one of 6 defenses that have to get there, and it could be 1 touchdown late in the game. And people always forget that, like when the Tennessee defense versus Seattle, and they're like, oh, that's a horrible play. It's like they could get 8 and the top defense could get 18, but it's a $4,000 defense versus a $2,300. It's not that far off, but the person with the $4,000 defense might not be able to afford Jahmyr Gibbs with 58 points on Sunday. And the other team has, got their defense with 18 points, but has, Jameson Williams or David Montgomery. He's a real example where it just didn't work out. And we're going to talk about them on this slate specifically. So Alex, I'll stay with you. First stop on leverage lane as we go down the lane, as we like to talk about here, is going to be talking about the ownership and what we're seeing. I think there is some absolute standouts. Yes, it will be spread out in certain spots, but Jamar Chase, no T. Higgins, late night hammer, Derrick Henry, like there's definitely going to be some opportunity here. We just saw another tight end take down the Bengals quite easily. So I know Andrews is popping up. What sort of setup are you seeing, being that we have just a 3-game slate here, and what stands out to you for starters?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that 3 of the top 4 guys in our single entry ownership over at FTN are from that last game, the Baltimore game. Henry at 49.7%, Mark Andrews at 48.8%. These are single entry ownerships. And Jamar Chase at 47.1%. The only guy that we have higher than those 3 guys is Jahmyr Gibbs at 52.4%, basically just coming off, an absolutely absurd game. And he's probably the most fun guy to root for and watch. So in addition to just what he's doing from a production standpoint, like people want to be rooting for Gibbs. They want that rush of adrenaline as he takes what should be a 4-yard carry and turns it into a 64-yard touchdown. So I think he's going to continue to get a ton of ownership. And also, like, even when he's not breaking off these explosive runs, he's then catching 6 balls for 100 yards against Philly, whatever it was. So yeah, he just has so many paths to success. People are going to want to play him even in a tough matchup with Green Bay, even at a tough price tag at $8,800. But I think the biggest thing that I notice when I look at ownership on this slate is when you look at the skill position guys, there's really only one position where you can confidently save money. People want the spend of running backs. People want the spend of wide receivers. There are plenty of viable receivers who are, in the mid-tier range, like Jameson Williams at $4,800. He's going to get a ton of ownership. But there's no one that you can go to at the running back or wide receiver position that really helps you save money and helps you fit Jahmyr Gibbs or helps you fit Derrick Henry. So what we're going to see is a ton of tight end ownership, and we're going to see a lot of double tight end lineups. We're projecting 55% of single entry lineups to be double tight end this week, or this Thursday, I should say. So I think that's kind of one of the more unique things about the slate, and particularly about ownership on the slate.
Yeah, I didn't build out like a single entry hoop to look at it yet, but I guess double tight end would be, viable. I think people are talking about Gesicki. People are talking about, Andrews first, but after that, I think it becomes like Gesicki, Kelsey. And then I know there's even some likely lineups that are popping up where they're just treating it as a combo pack of it's cheap enough for both of them to get there. And I actually don't hate that. I don't think it's going to be a surprise if we talk about, the combinatorial ownership, like you always talk about, Alex, where you'd see that where it's possible later on. But Hoop, what sort of stands out to you as far as we talk first about like the common build, like what you're seeing sort of people land on and how you see it playing out. And by the way, for those that don't know, I'm sure many already do, but Hoop, you've been playing in the high stakes streets for many years. I know you've switched it up a little bit over time, but you kind of still, that runs through your blood of what people are doing and how you're seeing it. What are you seeing out there for this slate?
Yeah, if you're watching the show, pull up DraftKings right now and try to build a team that you want, like with the guys that you want. Try to build a Baltimore heavy team. Try to build a Detroit team with Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you start building and you quickly realize, oh shit, I'm running out of salary really fast. Where's the value? Well, it really doesn't exist until you get to the tight end position. There's not like a standout cheap running back play. If you're playing a legit running back, like the cheapest you can go is David Montgomery at 4,800. That's not saving you a ton. Like, yeah, 4,800 is cheap, but that's not like bottom of the barrel cheap. You go to the wide receiver position, and on these slates, we've had a lot of 3K guys in play. Well, you go to wide receiver, the cheapest guy you probably want to click on and feel pretty good about is maybe Worthy at 4,500. I guess you can make the case for Yossi Vosh at 43, but there's no difference there. I saw someone in the chat was talking about Bateman at 38. Like, if we get news, he's in. But still, like, playing one of those guys, you need a little bit more if you want the high-end guys on the slate, if you want the Gibbs, if you want the top end of wide receiver, which is totally loaded. And then you get to tight end and you're like, okay, I finally found it. Like, everyone's pretty cheap here. Kelsey's only 5K. That's cheap. Andrews 36. That's cheap. And it's nice because Cincinnati sucks against tight ends. You got Gesicki 3,100. Had 6 targets last game. Yeah, Likely at 26. We know the Bengals suck against tight end, so I like Likely at 26. So this is the conversations people are going to say when they start building out their teams, and then they're going to start building and be like, damn, I just need 2 of these cheap tight ends, or at least 1 super cheap tight end and a cheap wide receiver to make it all work. So double tight end is just going to be popular. And Alex, what'd you say? Over 50%? I believe it, man, because you start building out these teams. If you hand build, you're going to want to do it. Optimizers, you're definitely going to want to do it if you're forcing in some of these spends, or you're not going to want to do it. It's just naturally going to happen in optimizers. So yeah, that's definitely, probably the biggest takeaway is we know the way people are going to be building teams. Like, all these wide receivers, top end wide receivers, are getting some degree of ownership from, what are we looking at, from Pickens and above. Everyone's getting probably at least 30%. The running backs, Gibbs is going to get a good chunk. Derrick Henry is going to get a good chunk. So these guys are going to get owned. The only way they get to those big ownership numbers is people going double tight end.
Yeah, I agree on that. One thing that's up for debate is I would say this, and it's not pushing back on Hoop's comments. It's just noting in general, pricing can be soft, but roster construction can be hard. That actually is possible to happen at the same time. Like, they're trying to fill a $5 milli maker here. So these prices. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Just to hit on that point, I'm always tough on DraftKings for making these slates price very soft. Like, and that's kind of not the case today. Like, I think they did a very good job with pricing. Like, so to me, like, I always give them shit when pricing is soft. I don't think it's soft at all. Like, you have to make some sacrifices for sure if you want to play these high end guys. So I think I'd say they did a pretty good job on the slate pricing.
I think it works out good for roster construction, which is, we're saying the same things in different ways. I disagree on it not being soft, because you can play what it is that this is facts. We talk about this on every version of any show we do. Whatever happened last week or the most recent slate is where people get hyped up to go. Oh, your David Montgomery and Jameson Williams didn't work out for you on Sunday and you needed Gibbs and Amon-Ra to smash. Well, now people feel like, well, I got to play Henry, I got to play Chase, but I can't go back to Montgomery and Jameson Williams. Everything they were fine with doing on Sunday is no longer okay to them. Like you said, Hoop, I mean, you nailed it, but just in general, like, Montgomery is $4,800. 20% of the field wanted him. Jameson Williams is $4,800. 20% of the field wanted him on a full main slate. And now nobody wants, people want them. By the way, they're still going to play them. But I mean, like, in general, people are acting like they can't fit the build because of that. So I'm just saying it's going to be good for those that want to focus on roster construction and not just on the plays, because I think, Alex, and I'll kick it to you on this to get your take on it, is if it's going to be all 2 tight end lineups, first of all, you can use different 2 tight ends. It's not like we have McBride on this slate where it's him and who are you picking with him. It's like you don't need Andrews. You can play Likely and somebody else if you wanted to still do it. But my point being, you can also build through some of those guys, like you said, and especially in a 600,000 person tournament. I know we're going to focus on single entry and stuff, but just a quick note, like the Worthies of the world, the Yoshi Voss, if Bateman plays, he was called full practice participant on Tuesday and then listed as limited, but Harbaugh said full. So, he's 3,800. Wicks, guys like that you can play. So I'm fine with it. And I especially think if you're stacking, and we'll talk about some of that stuff in a little bit, but Alex, what's your take on it? I think Hoop's point is correct, but I also think, like, people struggle because they want to build all the studs in. It's like, you just may not even need all the studs on this slate. It's 3 games.
Yeah, and because of the way pricing works this week, is like, if the tight ends don't have a very good day, chances are some of these studs are going to put up a very good score, and you're not going to want them in your lineup because you're better off with two guys scoring pretty well than one guy scoring really well and then having that other dud. So it's also a slate where we can get different just by trying to build a much more balanced lineup and not having to pay down as often. And then if the pay down options don't come through, we're really set up well. So like, imagine if, Gesicki ends with 3 for 27 and likely ends up with 2 for 25. And that's like, all you're getting from those real punt guys. Now you're really set up well. If you can get, let's say, even something like 13 from Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs is really going to go a long way. So I think that's kind of my initial instinct of how can I play this slate really well, is just trying to really avoid as much of the pure punts as I possibly can and hoping they fail, because then that just opens up so much for you and it presents such like a clear path to the top of these leaderboards.
Yeah, and I think another thing people got to know too, and this doesn't matter if you're playing one entry or 150 or whatever you're doing, you could be playing 300 across multiple tournaments, 150 uniques here, 150 there, duplicating whatever, is like obviously the 2 tight end setup in an optimizer is going to love that, because you can then fit all these great median scores. But just because Jamar Chase is projected for 23 or 22 or 21 or whatever, he can have 40, which that will really help if he does that, or he could have his 17 type point game. And then it's like, oh, wait a sec. And everyone that's projected at, Jameson Williams, 10 points or 11 points or whatever he's at. Well, what if he does have his 30-point outcome? Well, now that just switches everything, right? And that's why I'd be looking at stuff like that for sure. And if it's going to be that high, 2 tight end and something like the $5, that would be an easy way for me just to say, like, in a majority of my portfolio, I'd be comfortable getting different and just hoping a bunch of lineups are going in the garbage anyway. Remember that in the $5, like you should be willing to, that's walking into the casino hoop. Speaking of, I saw the Huff and Puff game. Speaking of our Michigan casino, somebody got to the 22 mil or whatever off the game you and Nades like to play. But when you walk in the casino, you bring the money you're willing to lose, or you should. And that's what you're doing with the $5 Millie Maker. Go ahead. You can talk on the Huff and Puff too, because that's some exciting stuff.
That hurt. That hit home hard. Like I saw that someone hit that jackpot. Then I see it's my game, mine and Nade's game. Like, and I wasn't involved in it. Yeah, like I've played that game on that site, and man, that hurt. That hit hard. Like, I'm obviously happy for the person. Maybe I don't know if I'm happy for him. Maybe I'm happy for him. The person that hit the 22 million. But man, that could have been Hoopster. Would have been a fun Thanksgiving if that was the case. But hey, we missed out. Yeah, our guy Nades is in the chat. Brutal. It does hurt. Nades can tell you. I've sent screenshots to Nades of our game, that exact game, and man, couldn't find the winner circle on that one. Maybe I'll find it tomorrow in the DFS streets instead.
I hit the bonus on it with you guys that last night we were there. I was playing it too. It's actually a fun game if you're playing slots, which I'm usually not at a casino, but when you're there with the boys or watching the sports, doing all the stuff, it's like, chuck a few bucks in here. And that lady was so mad. I still remember her just staring us down when I got the bonus and she just left the machine. It's like, there's a whole dynamic to these casinos, but go ahead, Hoop. I just mean, like, for this, you got to be willing to make moves. And again, we're going to dial it back to single entry here in a second, because I think we've kind of got the common build. But before we go to that, just from those that are playing that $5 tomorrow, to me, it's simple. You just got to be willing to lose. And sometimes it's via ways like that, where you can just say, look, if the 2 tight ends beat me, they beat me. And maybe I'll have a proportion of my portfolio set up that way. But otherwise, I'm going to build for more risk in these wide receivers where they have big ceilings, but low medium projection.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to put it for someone that might be like a novice or someone that's just, building a few lineups on the shitter, it's like, man, you want to, like, when you build these lineups that are going into that Millie Maker, the $5 Millie Maker, you should look at it and be like, something looks off here. Like, it doesn't look like an all-star team. You don't want it to look like an all-star team where you're playing, I don't know, like, Gesicki and Likely, and then you're just getting all the studs that you want on the slate. Like, it just something should look off. Alex brought up the good point about, including a couple guys under 5%, whoever that may be. I mean, there's not going to be a ton of guys that are under 5% on the slate just because, it's the nature, or under 5% that are playable, I should say, just because of the nature of it being a 3-game slate. And these offenses, for the most part, are pretty condensed, but you should have some of these ugly sort of plays in there. It just shouldn't look like an all-star team, I guess, is my main point if you're hand building.
Yeah, agreed. I love that. That's the way to do it. Just going back to 1 to 3 max now, Alex. So we love the interaction. So anytime someone brings up a question, then we'll get to sort of hammering out with you what the common build looks like and then take it from there. When you play, you've talked about this on other shows. So like some are watching for the first time, but just to note it quickly, you can play a 3-max like a single entry. So that's where you're saying, okay, with a guy like Justin Herbert, when Keenan Allen, McConkey, and QJ are all healthy, you say, I might play Herbert in all 3 of my lineups and just mix those receivers around so that I get to cover those angles. But you're playing a 3-max like a single entry. On a smaller slate, would you recommend something still like that? Or would you be willing to go like 2 with one quarterback and 1 with another? I know it's subjective, but just of note for somebody asking, what's your thoughts on that?
I think if you asked 10 different, like really good established DFS players, you might get 10 different answers to this question. I don't think there's a correct answer and an incorrect answer, but the way that I play it is I try to basically build like a single entry lineup and then say, okay, what is the weakest part of this lineup? Is it the fact that it's hard to pick the right 2 Chargers receivers out of the 3 possible options? Is it the fact that my second running back is, a really high risk, high reward play and there's a good chance he fails? Whatever that answer is, whatever the weak link to the lineup is, that's what I want to differentiate throughout the rest of the lineup. So that's something I do a lot in PGA as well. So like one of my big hits this past year, there were 3 like expensive guys that I knew I wanted and I was jamming them in, but that meant I had 3 like really cheap guys remaining. I didn't love any. So I had 3 different combinations of cheap plays to help fit that core of the expensive guys. You can do that sort of thing as well in NFL DFS, where maybe it's like, I know I want to play Gibbs and Henry and Rashee Rice, for example. And now I got to figure out, okay, which punt tight ends am I using to fit those guys, whatever, right? So that's the way I look at it is what's the weak link to the lineup? And now I'm going to kind of differentiate that throughout the other 2.
I like one other thing you said there too about like kind of like creating your own core without creating one, where it's like, it's very clear I'm on, and I talked about this before, internal, external. The external is the quarterback and the defense, that the onesie, everything else in between. If you love 2 running backs that you just can't get away from and you love a tight end, well, it's kind of like you could just fill out different stacks around it because now you already have a good feeling. You're like, look, I'm not moving off these options, but let me go to this stack. And then I realize this stack could also fit it. And now if you're right about your core running back and tight end and defense that you already love, that you're not moving off of, you kind of just need to get the right stack around it some way, shape, or form. And at least you've got outs at that point. So sticking with you there, Alex.
Real quick, Tim, I think like what you just said is fantastic. And it works perfectly with kind of my answer. If you change what I said from find the weak link to find the part that's the hardest to get right, because you might really like the stack. You're not saying that, oh, this is a bad stack, it's a weak link, but there's also this other stack that you really like and a third stack that you really like. So the hardest thing to get right there is finding the correct stack among the 3 that you love. And so there you're saying like, it's not with the weak link in the sense that that's the part of the lineup that's likely to fail. But now you're saying, okay, the running backs that I have, the tight end that I have, whatever the one-offs are, like that's the part that I feel really good. These guys are better than the alternative options, but the stack that I'm choosing is just as likely to be this one or that one. And so I'm going to mix that one in instead.
Yeah. And that's my guy, Tyler here, MN Hall. He's a member over at Chip Nation. And he mentions this. A lot of people do. And that's the funny part. People do like to start with quarterback. I get that. That's not funny. That's obvious. But the funny part is they often say like, oh, but I kind of like this stack, but I kind of like this stack too. It's like if you know that those are your variables, even for you, and it's hard to get a player pool down, I think it's good to sort of work from the inside out, because you'll find a lot of what's inside helps get you to, if you can only pick one quarterback, or if you are going to pick multiple, you can keep the inner core. Hoop, I'll kick it back to you, and then we'll go to what you sort of see now with all that said as the common bill. But I got to clarify one thing first. 2 things, actually. One, never Mahomes is for classic slates. Okay, first of all. And second of all, can you imagine, this is the Mahomecoming, don't forget, going back into Dallas, and we've got the Millie Maker Mahomes Mustache Massacre opportunity of a lifetime, where I could play Mahomes, because it's a short slate, in the $5 Millie Maker, and be able to get these combos and end up chopping the mustache off with $1 million based on Mahomes. Could you imagine that? That'd be too good, Hoop. Come on.
It'd be way too good to be true, man. That would cap off a pretty good run that you've been on recently, for sure. If you could pair that up, the mustache with the Mahomes Millie Maker win, I mean, you might have to just retire at that point.
Oh man, I've done it once before. If you remember the Will Zalatoris days, I told everyone how shitty of a bet that guy was every single week until he won. And then I was there live at the event in the playoff in Memphis when he won after I called it and bet on it. And I came in second in the big tournament that week for like 40K. So maybe I'll do it again. I think I'm definitely going to be in on Mahomes because of a bunch of reasons, which we'll get to in a second when we talk about how to leverage the common build. But I think we'll stay with you, Hoop, on this one. But I think it looks like Mahomes is going to be in the common build still. If not, like we'll see what Alex thinks in a second. But what are you seeing, Hoop, as like the for sure core that people are setting up around? Like Henry, Chase, Andrews. What else do you see? Anything else?
Well, I think like the main thing is going to be like if you go through the position, Mahomes is going to be the most popular quarterback. It's easy to play him. The matchup is the best. He's the highest projected, no matter where you look. I mean, everyone's going to have Mahomes is the highest projected own quarterback. You go to running back, people I think will be a little afraid to play Lamar. Now it's a 3-game slate, so he will get some ownership. But I think people's hesitancy to play Lamar is just going to lead to a ton of Derrick Henry ownership in a really good spot. So you're looking at like Patrick Mahomes, you're looking at Derrick Henry for sure. RB2 is probably pretty wide open because Gibbs is expensive. So if you are going down that path of like Mahomes and Henry, Gibbs, I don't know how he fits in there because people are going to want to play an expensive wide receiver. Then you get, I think people are going to go one of CeeDee Lamb or Pickens. They're going to play one of those two. It's easy to fit them. They're a little bit cheaper than Amon-Ra and Jamar Chase. If they do have Mahomes in there, maybe it's Rashee Rice. So you're looking at Mahomes, Derrick Henry, one of Lamb and Pickens, and then Rashee Rice. Let me just see. I want to kind of plug this in so we can kind of see like, what we have like as we go, like how much money. So you do that. You got Henry in there. You got one of, I'll just put CeeDee Lamb in. I'll put Rashee Rice in there. I'm going to put in a random defense. We'll just put in something kind of in the middle. We'll put in the Packers defense. So with those guys I mentioned right there, we have like 4,800 left. You go to tight end, people are clearly going to be looking to save at tight end. Mark Andrews. Mark Henry, who is it? Is that a wrestler?
Yeah, man. Mark Henry.
Yeah, Mark Henry, the wrestler. Yeah. So Mark Andrews, you plug him in. Then you're at like 5,200. So you're out on Jahmyr Gibbs, most likely. You're probably playing another cheap tight end. And I think that's going to kind of be like the common, popular cash sort of build. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a very common path that a lot of people are going to start on. And then you're left with figuring out 3 spots. Really don't give a shit about defense. You're left with finding a running back, probably a cheap wide receiver, and then a cheap flex, and you might get one more spend out of that. What do you want to do with it? Is it, play David Montgomery because you can't get to Gibbs? Maybe that's the move. You put Montgomery in that team, then it's $5,400 left for like a wide receiver and a flex. So I don't know. I think that's the path that most people go.
Alex, what do you see there? Anything different or I guess the biggest one for me is like the Gibbs and Henry thing. Can people play? I mean, can they? Yes. Will they in the common build have both of them via the 2 tight end set? Or what are you seeing when it comes to that? And then anything else, any discrepancies or anything you want to add to that on how you're seeing things play out?
Well, to me, I think the best answer is that there isn't really a common build this week in that way through the stacks. Like I think the aspects of the common build this week are people are saving money at tight end. They're trying to pay up at running back. They're trying to pay up at wide receiver within the stack. That's the common thing. So it's tough, especially because when you look at like quarterback ownership this week, quarterback ownership and stack ownership are very different things. And the quarterback ownership and the stack ownership this week, I think, can really actually be like more disconnected than usual. Because when I'm looking at our quarterback ownership, for example, and I see, Jared Goff as one of the lower owned quarterbacks. Okay, but if you're playing Goff, who are you playing him with? Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Both of those guys are popular. So if both of those guys hit, like you're not separating a whole lot from the field because a ton of people already on that combination, or at least those individual plays. Same idea with Prescott stacks, because Dak is probably going to be 15%, something like that. So you can say, oh, he's lower owned than Patrick Mahomes. Except if you're playing Dak, you're probably playing Pickens and Lamb. Maybe you deviate from that by choosing one of those guys and then going Ferguson, and now you're actually on a bit of a contrarian stack. But like if both Lamb and Pickens do really well, you're banking on separating just because that combination is low owned. I don't know how low owned that combination will actually be. So it's just hard in that way, because like I actually think, the more contrarian route might be like actually playing through some of the popular quarterbacks, like maybe a Mahomes, who's harder to find the right combination of stack pieces, which also means that you have more license to get different within a Mahomes stack than you have to get different within a Goff stack, right? Like there's no Worthy or Tyquan Thornton or Juju Smith-Schuster, somebody who has the chance of having a really good game with the Goff stack who's going to be low owned. So it's just a really kind of interesting puzzle on this Thanksgiving slate of kind of the difference between quarterback ownership and stack ownership, and finding the best way to be contrarian in that way.
Yeah, I'll say it quick. I mean, people have the money to get to Ravens D. So Ravens D pop into the main typically. Andrews is popular. Henry's popular. The Ravens D is the Browns Judkins thing we talked about plenty in the past, where it auto pushes that up even further. To Hoop's point, even when he did his build out, it was like maybe you get Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe you don't. And so it seems clear that I think we will see Henry separate just a little bit there. Everyone knows Jahmyr Gibbs just had a really good game, but there's also people that are looking at matchups and stats and all this other. Oh, the last 5 games Gibbs played Green Bay, it wasn't the greatest game against them. Okay, that's fair and true, but it's like it's today. We care about tomorrow. So, just looking at that perspective, I think that changes it a little. Obviously, Jamar Chase, but one of the most interesting things, this takes to part 2, we'll get into it. And it's with 3 games, kind of worth just going through kind of all 3, but like how to leverage the common build. One of the most interesting things is Patrick Mahomes, most popular quarterback, it looks like right now. But where do you see, let me do it this way. Where do you see Kelsey after probably Andrews and Gesicki? Where do you see Rice after maybe 4 or 5 wide receivers? Where do you see Worthy and Hollywood Brown and all those guys? Nowhere. You don't see them. Now let's flip this for a second, Hoop. When you go to Pickens and Lamb, some are picking between Pickens and Lamb, and we just got the news from Adam Schefter that it's a full go for Pickens. I know he had some stuff that people were worried about. Nothing to be worried about. Good to go. Many are picking between the two, but both are popular. Yet when you look at quarterbacks, Dak, not so popular, right? When you look at Gibbs, you look at Amon-Ra, even nowadays, it's almost 2026, folks. People don't just disappear on a guy like Jameson Williams. They go right back to the well and sign up for more punishment, or what they signed up for on Sunday, the ceiling that is always possible with a guy like him. But Goff could be the lowest owned quarterback, but Amon-Ra and those guys are getting the ownership. So I think the coolest part of this slate, with having all those games and opportunities, and to Kenny's point here, going to be a lot. This is the thing. That's why I wish so bad, by the way, on another Tambo tangent, why I wish it was $100 Millie Maker. If you kill 200,000 lineups in the $5, you still have to play against 400,000. If you killed these cash lineups off in a 29,000 person $100 Millie Maker, we'd be in really good shape going in early. So I'm still hoping for that angle of attack, but not as high when there's 400,000 teams left over if 200 go out. But Hoop, kicking it back to you, how do you see the ways to common the leverage build? It could be through some certain plays and opportunities that you see, or just roster construction in general. What's your first thoughts?
Well, it is difficult just because there are going to be a lot of common sort of builds just by the fact that there's just not a lot of like cheap-ish sort of plays, I guess. Like, so your people are going to be forced into the same sort of builds, I guess is kind of what I'm getting at. You are going to see a lot of cash builds, but again, like your point, like, yeah, you can eliminate half the field in that $5 milli by just dumb lineups, but you're still competing with 300,000 people to get to the top. So it's like hard to pay off your leverage or pay off your stands in that sort of contest. And again, that should just be played, I think, for entertainment purposes tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably pretty difficult. I mean, we laid out the path. So like, what do you do to maybe build a little bit different? Well, the first thing would be like no double tight end, because I think, double tight end is going to be covered on every way, shape, or form. People are going to have double tight end covered. Now, if you are going double tight end, right? Let's say you still want to go that sort of build, play Jake Ferguson, who probably comes in pretty low owned because he's the most expensive on the slate. And people are playing. Why are people playing double tight end? To save money. So they're not going to want to go double tight end with the most expensive guy. So that's one way to play double tight end a little bit differently. If you're stacking Patrick Mahomes, like you talked about, don't stack him with Rashee Rice, stack him with Worthy or Hollywood Brown or some combination of those guys. If people are playing Lamar Jackson and looking to stack him, we already know what they're going to do. It's really just three guys. And a lot of people like to single stack with Lamar Jackson. So it'd be like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. Well, Lamar is not efficiently running right now. I mean, he something is still up. He's still a little injured for sure. So maybe you look to go the extreme stack with Lamar Jackson, make it a double or a triple, and just load up and say Lamar Jackson realizes he can't really run that much right now. He's just going to throw the ball a ton. Derrick Henry is inefficient in that game, so it's a ton of passes, and you need Lamar with multiple pass catchers. So that's the sort of thing you can kind of do. If you're playing Dak Prescott, a lot of people are going to choose one of CeeDee Lamb or Pickens. I think like the best way to play Dak, again, in the big million maker thing, first click for me would be Jake Ferguson. I mean, multiple touchdown upside. You're leveraging all that ownership at tight end. Like, we know people are playing everyone else at that position really over him. All the guys that are in play are going to be higher owned than Jake Ferguson. Kelsey. I mean, you're talking massive ownership on these guys. Kelsey, Andrews, Gesicki, even Likely's getting big ownership. So like a one way for sure to play Dak different is start with Jake Ferguson. So there's ways definitely to get a little bit different. And that's the sort of thing you need to look at, especially if you're playing in the contest where there's a ton of people, and there's more than just that one big million maker where there's a ton of people. So start thinking like different ways. So you're not saying you got to fade Patrick Mahomes because he's going to be popular on this slate, but know the way the field's going to be building with him. Same with Dak Prescott. Like, we know how people are going to be building with him. So you just kind of got to think of a different route, a different path off of some of these builds.
And just a quick note before I kick it to you, Alex, like that's certainly something where you get even more game theory to it than people might even think, because it's like there's the two tight end build, but you have a tight end Ferguson who now probably has a better ceiling than most of the other ones. Like, he could have a 2 touchdown game. Now that would maybe hurt Pickens or Lamb, possibly if they're not scoring a ton of touchdowns and he gets 2 of them, but that would be different. And also, when many are picking between Lamb and Pickens, what if you had Lamb, Pickens, and Ferguson with Dak? Like, that's a different way. Dak is the opposite side of Mahomes. Like, again, you're playing Dak, Lamb, Pickens, and Ferguson, and that's unique. But that's the point. Some people, while everyone's looking for a needle in a haystack, you're just playing different. And so I certainly like something like that. I think that makes a ton of sense. I also think, Alex, and I'll kick it to you and get your thoughts on how to leverage it, is like little things that people don't think about always. Obviously, some will get there, but just in general, for even single entry and stuff, we always talk about how overstacks can work so much better, because in like the $5, someone's going to have that random one-off that beats your 4th or 5th guy into a lineup from a game stack. But in something, I think this is one of the most interesting ones. It won't be my leverage lane because it's kind of just a theory thought, but I want to kick it to you with your thoughts on this. So Cincinnati and Dallas, 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Again, I said it last. Philly ended up coming out strong. Dallas showed up in the second half. Good for them. I'm just saying it's. I don't think it's gotten that much better. They could have put more on them if they had played a different style, whatever you want to say. Point being, a lot of people are going to want that first game, right? The best way to start the day is to have something from the first game, have this, that, and the other. You could still have something, but what if it's just a running back and a defense, or just a defense? You could play, 4 guys from Baltimore, 4 guys, and you could flip this however you think it's actually going to happen. 4 guys from KC and a defense from game 1, and call it a day and be like, I'm just going to pick on the 2 teams. I think Kansas City does well. I think the Ravens do well. I have no clue who's even going to get the ball in the first game. And what if it spreads out a little bit more and it's not 58 points for Gibbs? I don't know what to do on the Green Bay side. Let me just build that. In single entry, specifically in smaller field stuff, I mean, that can play anywhere, but I think it can play really well in that kind of stuff. Do you have any thoughts on that? And then other thoughts on around how you can sort of leverage this common build we just talked about?
Yeah, we've kind of been talking about this all year on Leverage Lane, right? It's like this idea that in today's NFL, like, because defenses are doing a much better job of taking away explosive plays, offenses are hitting together or not at all far more often than they used to, where it used to be like, okay, it's going to be this guy from this team and that guy from that team, and you just pick the right guys from each team. And now it's more like, okay, well, let's pick the right offenses for the slate. And that could mean that, maybe we want Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Jamison Williams, or maybe we want Henry and Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers, right? Like if one of these teams scores 35 and nobody else scores more than 24, you're probably going to want multiple pieces from that 35, including the running backs. It doesn't just have to be like a passing stack. So that's definitely one thought that I had. And I very much agree with your thought of like, okay, well, what if it's just a running back or a defense that you want from that early game? Because that also then talks about late swap and, setting yourself up to get information from that first game that can then inform the decisions you make the rest of the way. That's just a really smart way to approach this slate.
Yeah, and I remember, I think it was last year. I don't know, it felt like it was cutting close. Did last year go to OT or was it the year before last where it's like the first game? We didn't Love have like a big boy game? I thought it was last year or the year before, and he came out, and then it was like, I thought it went to OT. I can't remember. Hoop, you follow it because you're a big Lions fan. We're all football fans, but what was the year?
I think it was Caleb. Caleb was like 0 at halftime and then had a huge second half in the comeback.
Sorry, you're right. Had all their injuries. Somehow I think I remember the halftime show better. I think it was Shabuzi was out there because the kids love Shabuzi. And I was like, okay, little song in the middle there. But yeah, that's what it was. It was Caleb Williams. You nailed it. So, I mean, things can still happen that way and get different there. Just setting it up, Alex, like who brought up the double tight end with the Ferguson, or even not going that way and just using a tight end with the ceiling. The chat's talking a lot about, who's looked good lately and who's had bad seasons so far. Is there other sort of things that you would do or see from an actual, team stack perspective? Again, you don't have to go all the way into your leverage lane yet, but any specifics that you're seeing there when it comes to stacks or setups within the builds?
I'm not entirely sure how to answer this. I think what I'd say is whatever stack I choose, I want to understand the most likely path that they get there. So, for example, like Dallas has actually done a very good job lately of taking away the explosive pass. You remember early in the season, like Russell Wilson of all people demolished them on explosive passes the entire game. They're not a good defense now, but at least in that area, they have done a really, really good job where over the last 7 games, they've actually allowed the lowest explosive pass rate of any of the defenses on this slate. So if you're going to Kansas City, now you should understand, okay, if Mahomes has the slate winning game, it's probably because they're successful all game. It's probably because of a lot of pass volume. And so what does that mean for who you should pair with him? Well, I want Rashee Rice. I probably want Travis Kelce. Why? Because these are the guys who have the most likely, or these are the most likely guys to end up with, the 8 reception game or the 10 reception game. And it's not as likely to be Xavier Worthy having a 50-yard touchdown or something like that, right? So whatever your stack is, I think you should just try and understand the dynamics of how does this stack actually get there, and then use that to inform which stack partners you're selecting with it.
Yeah, Hoop, we usually talk a little bit too, just about, because we've talked enough about like the combinations and stuff like that we're seeing from the previous segment. But from a game stack perspective, Hoop, obviously it looks like any of them are possible. Is there any that of the 3 that stand out to you more than the others, or any that you could sort of see what's the word that was used? Stymied? If you see where it doesn't go that way, like what sort of setup are you seeing when it comes to the 3 games? If you were thinking of an overstack, what one might stand out to you most?
Well, I think like Green Bay and Detroit will be the lowest owned in terms of like game stack or people just like loading up on. And that's because the quarterback's going to be low owned there. And there's some pieces, but the Green Bay offense continues to be, one of the more difficult ones to figure out. And people just don't even want to deal with it. Josh Jacobs still has a real price tag, and they have all these wide receivers. So that's the one, if you're looking to load up on a game that people are going to be not off of, but it'll be the lowest owned, like all in game stack situation. This is your spot. KC Dallas is my favorite. It's probably the highest owned, like all in game stack situation in terms of, what people are doing. And the one that I think is going to be over owned is definitely Cincinnati and Baltimore. I am just much lower on the Cincinnati situation than most people. I'm not really all that interested in the Burrow stuff. I get Jamar Chase. Like I love the other pass catchers over Jamar Chase. Like I just think this could be a Derrick Henry sort of game. I mean, Lamar Jackson is just he's not right now. And if you want Lamar Jackson, he's got to be running the ball effectively, and he just can't do it right now. So this is the one to me that I think people are going to be in that has the potential to bust from a game stack perspective. Yes, pieces in this game are still going to get there, but just all in game stack thing, I think this is the one that has the chance to bust, and people will be on it.
I like that call. I also think it's funny is, yeah, the stats all show that like when Baltimore and Cincinnati play, Alex, it's been some good back and forth games, especially when Burrow is in there. I am worried a little bit, not as a fan of the Ravens or anything, but like from a DFS perspective, because I'm not as high on it either. But if Lamar, if the L in leverage stands for Lamar and he comes out and finally has his big game and it's on prime time to end the he comes out, oh, I can't run. Let me show everyone that I can still do it. Now, I think I've seen some stuff watching where he looks a little more hobbled, leaning on the sidelines and stuff, hopping up and not doing his thing, but he says he can do it. So it would be really interesting to see it play out that way because he's not low owned at quarterback, but obviously he would be high. He'd be good leverage off of Derrick Henry. If he's stealing those touchdowns, that's bad for all the Derrick Henry owners that are sitting there waiting, or those that try and leverage through Zay Flowers, but it ends up being Lamar running a couple in and things like that really hurts all that late. It could slow the game down some for Cincy, whether they can do it or not. I don't know why they wouldn't try and keep Baltimore off the field. That's been the only way to sort of even get after them. Now it is the Bengals we're talking about, which is rough, but any thoughts from the game stack perspective stuff, Alex, just on like everything Hoop talked on, anything you agree with, disagree with there?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with it all. I also think another thought to just kind of keep in mind is when you're picking the stacks, like there's also an advantage to waiting and picking a later stack just because then you have more options. So for example, like if you're choosing one of the Green Bay or Detroit offenses, you've got to make your stack selection right away. You have to know exactly which wide receivers, tight ends, running backs that you're going to include. If you wait and you have, let's say, a Burrow stack in there, you could theoretically change to Lamar stack. Or maybe it's, okay, I really like Lamar. I'm banking on Lamar. So all day long, you're going to plan on Lamar, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. Just a really straightforward way to stack Lamar Jackson. But then, wait a minute, you know what? I'm way behind. I need to change something. Let me get the upside of Jamar Chase, and the way I'm going to fit him is I'm going to go down from Zay Flowers to DeAndre Hopkins, and I'll go down from Mark Andrews to Isaiah Likely, right? Like you just get so much more late swap flexibility if you wait. And I think there's very much an advantage to that. You can also do that to a degree with either of the Kansas City or Dallas offenses. Mike was talking about the Ferguson play earlier. I think that's an awesome call in the Dak stack. And I also think you can just like totally overstack it. You could go Dak, Pickens, Lamb, and Ferguson and just hope that the Dallas offense scores 40 and nobody else scores, into the 30s. And so lots of different ways to approach this, but I think that's kind of the fun of this slate. And the last thing I'll say there is there are 6 offenses that people are going to be somewhat excited to play. And it's worth remembering we could end up with 3 low-scoring games. So when you're thinking about how this slate plays out, don't just think about the scenarios where every offense has a really high-scoring player. Also think about what happens if these games are lower scoring than we're all expecting.
Good point. And also, too, I'll kick to you on that thought, Hoop, is like the other thing about it is most of these offenses, to be honest, especially that. So the first game, definitely Green Bay and Detroit. I'll say the point in a second, but that one definitely fits this. You just named the Dallas stack. Like it has multiple different options. Could be Lamb, could be Pickens, could be Ferguson, could be whoever. And then, Kansas City's always this way. Baltimore can be this way. We're talking about 2 tight ends already. The thing about the big totals, Hoop, is hopefully it makes for a great day of football because we want some back and forth games. We want games like the Giants and the Lions on Sunday that we just had. That would be phenomenal. Let's hope that we get that. But you could have 50-point totals hit and still have the offense extremely spread out to, versus what people are actually on. It could just be all the different plays within the different games. So it's like, that's another point. You're not going to ever miss on everything, but I'm just saying it's like, it might not just be exactly what you think it is. So Hoop, anything we missed on that you want to talk about further, whether it's at a certain position, a certain player that you're like, wow, I'm surprised nobody talked about this, or anything you want to bring up there, and then we'll circle back to Alex for his lane, my lane, and let you have last since we don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I just think like the Joe Burrow stuff might be just like a little bit inflated. I mean, the guy hasn't played in 10 weeks. He's looking to be like the 3rd or 4th like highest owned quarterback on this slate. Last time I checked, the Bengals defense still fucking sucks really bad, and their offensive line is not very good either. And people see the Burrow name and just assume everything's going to be fixed with Cincy. I think Baltimore smashes them. Like I think they absolutely take it to Cincinnati in this game, and I'm pretty worried about the Cincinnati stuff. That's one spot where I that's one spot where I guess I kind of go into like what my leverage lane is going to be on this slate. And it's definitely going to be the under on the Cincinnati stuff, under on Burrow, under on Jamar Chase, under on Chase Brown. Yes, I'm fine with like Gesicki just because he's cheap, but everyone just assuming that everything gets fixed with the Cincinnati Bengals because Burrow is back. Like, I'm just not buying into that. And that's kind of how I will leverage this slate. Like, I think I want, Goff and Love and Dak over Burrow today or tomorrow. It's just, I don't know. That's one spot that I'm kind of honing in on and trying to be different from the field on. You look at Jamar Chase, he's looking to be like the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. And sure, maybe he gets there, but I can get Amon-Ra. I can get over the field on Amon-Ra. I can get over the field on Rashee Rice. I can get over the field on Pickens and Lamb and all those guys if I go underweight on Jamar Chase. Not saying I'm fading Jamar Chase, but if he's the highest owned guy, like, I'll take my chances with those other 4 wide receivers that at least one of them beat them, and then potentially, more than one. So that's kind of my leverage lane on the slate.
Yeah, I love that. And hey, you didn't even wait. And that's good because I was crossing my fingers that he didn't take mine. So I was like, I was worried about a 3-man booth today. So then you got to come up with a different one. It's a short slate already. Alex, before I go to you, we do have to announce we have 2 Ship It Games winners with no Thursday Night Football show this week. We will have it on this show. So I'm going to get to them quicker than usual, just so we get these out of the way. And then Alex can go into his final thoughts and his lane. Golden Ship It number 39 of 50. So the head-to-head winner that will play against Hoop this week. And it's a very common name. So I put like a part of their email, but not all of it. But there could be a lot of William Taylors. So congrats to William Taylor. We will email you, but just so you know it's you, it's W Taylor 331, et cetera, et cetera.
The best part about that is he's got obviously the numbers at the end of the email, are the differentiator, but he's got the, first initial and last name as the email.
That's why I had to put the 331 in there. Okay, I got to put something extra. And then there's even more numbers. So the good thing is that's he's got he's already primed and ready for YouTube with like the new names, like our man Sean Sullivan. We know he's Sean Sullivan. We know he's Sean Sullivan Jr. actually, but he is now Sean Sullivan Jr. .4768. That's his prison inmate number or something that they put on here now. So we can't have any discrepancies. And then let's get to the other one, Alex. I'll cut you off for one more second, but the Golden Ship It number 40 winner. So only 10 tickets remain. 10 Golden Ship It's remain after this. The winner of the Share a Ship Golden Ship It this week is Dane Cianelli. Cianelli? What do you got?
Yeah, Cianelli, I think. Yeah, Cianelli.
Italian. We love it. So love to see that. So, to Jay Steele's question, no, you don't have to do anything to qualify. You just have to be a member to get in. I mean, I think people think we have 100 members at Ship It Nation. They're like, oh, it should just be, the odds are in my favor. We did the calculation the other day. There was like 40,000 ballots that the 199 are being drawn from, just so you guys know. So it's like it is what it is thing, but it was a free roll. As Hoop said it from the start, many have got in. They've had opportunities in the 199. We're trying to do as much as possible, but not many sites out there have people donating $5,124 to the already $79,000 pool to make it 85,000 plus. So shout out to our man.
Just to be clear on that, that's not just like a verbal donation to the prize pool. He said, I'm going to send you guys this money. And then within minutes it hit our account. Like he instantly paid up. It's not like we're tracking sharks down for the 5K to add to the prize pool. He immediately sent it to us, which is very, very impressive.
Kenny, we'll really eventually get to here, Alex. It's funny. We got the best,
Kenny's excluded. Kenny's not allowed. He's excluded.
We're sending him some.
He's got too much. He's got too much cheese. He's not allowed to. He's not allowed to be picked for the Golden Ship It.
The invites did go out for this week, and then Jay Steele asked, but just a note, I'll bring it up because we did have everyone has a Black Friday special. Hoop, I had to do. I'll go to it here real quick on the page and share the proper screen. We did adjust our pricing. So if you want a Ship It Games ballot and you're not in and you're not a member, $49 gets you all of our content for the rest of the month. That is the final 4 draws. You'll be in the final 4 draws. You'll get all of our content for the final month for $49.
Yeah, I think you might have to go. I think you might have to go over that again. It took us all out. It eliminated our audio. So rerun that from the beginning because we all got kicked out.
I'll run it right here quick. If you hear me now, it's pretty easy. All we did is we adjusted it. So it's $49 to get a month. So if you want just to get a Ship It Games entry for $49, it's like you're buying into a lottery, but you get all the content that you wanted anyway. Get to hang out with us in the Discord, have fun, get all the content that we have with the Stone, with all of our projections, ownership, all of that. It's 69. Let me double check on my refresh here. It should be updated now. Yeah, 69. If you want $20 more, you can add SaberSim to that deal, or you can just get all the way through Super Bowl for 119 or 167, which is this here, 167 for the rest. So, all right. Let's go to Alex. Alex, what do you got for the leverage lane? Is there anybody we missed? I mean, we don't have to leave just as the top of the hour. If there's anything you think we missed and you wanted to touch on, by all means, but a little bit different format this week, having all three of us on. I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I actually want to start by saying I love this like kind of just almost Baltimore onslaught call from Hoop here. And I think one thing to note is, yeah, they're getting Burrow back, but losing Higgins is also a really big deal. And I know a lot of people have been talking kind of all week about how much success Cincinnati and Jamar Chase have had over the last few years against this Baltimore defense. But this is a very different Baltimore defense this year. They're kind of playing, the three safety system, not totally dissimilar from what Minnesota has done in the last few years. It's just a very different defense. Kyle Hamilton is playing an entirely different role. So I don't think that we can look at what Cincinnati has done against Baltimore in the last few years and say that's what's going to happen this week. Again, it's a very, very different defensive scheme. The personnel is being used differently. So I do want to give that word of caution. So all of that kind of just flows perfectly with Hoop's call there. My leverage lane is going to be actually quite similar, but just a different team. I'm going to go Josh Jacobs and the Green Bay defense as my leverage lane. This is mostly about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is first in the NFL in DYAR with a clean pocket. DYAR is a defense-adjusted yards above replacement. It's like a DVOA adjacent player, just individual statistic. And he's first of 38 qualified quarterbacks in DYAR against or with a clean pocket. He's 34th of those 38 in DYAR when pressured. And he faces Micah Parsons in a very, very good Green Bay defense. I think this could go a lot worse for the Detroit offense than what people are expecting. I think they're also kind of feeling the effect of not having Laporta and just not having that third guy who can really take defenders and create different levels and challenge the defense in that way. Like Brock Wright, if he plays, is just not the same kind of threat. And I think that's part of why Jameson Williams had the goose egg last week, because it's just easier to take specific things away from them in the passing game. And the easiest way to do that is by getting pressure. The Giants have a great pass rush. They have a really bad secondary. Green Bay is a great secondary, but also has the pass rush, of course, led by Micah Parsons. So I think that's going to be my leverage lane. And part of that, too, is I always want to get contrarian early in a slate like this so that I have really valuable information for what to do the rest of the slate. And so this is not just something that I have a lot of confidence in, but I think it also sets me up well to then use late swap to my advantage.
Yeah,
I do have to chime in because, man, like this beautiful scene right here. First show with Alex, and he comes in and joins Hoopster and shitting on Jared Goff. Like, I am in, man. I am 100% in. Now I'm pumped, even more pumped. It's true though, but it's like the eye test thing. I always say it like that is. He had the statistics behind it. Like, you don't even need the statistics behind it, because if you watch the Lions and you watch Goff facing any pressure, it's game over. GG, as the kids say nowadays. GG's. Like, he cannot handle any of the pressure. So I love that call. And it's just true. Even if you just have to watch the Lions games, like any pressure, he folds. Can't handle it.
The best is
love it.
Thinks you're going to be mad. It's like, if you've not heard Hoop attacked, Hoop's going to start shaking. Hoop loves this shit. This is his number one take. Is Hoop been shitting on Goff forever. So yeah, I think that's certainly part of it. So, oh man. So I love the Jacobs call actually there too. And I was going to just go with like a thought process of like, the overstacks, or like I said, like just, stacking two teams and calling it a day. And I will have a bunch of lineups like that, but Hoop didn't take it. So I actually am going to take it. And, I thought he was going to go there with his Ferguson call, but I love Dak on this slate based on two things. The Ferguson was actually an add-on. That's even better because I didn't think as many people were going to get to two tight end as possible. And I can play Ferguson without even going to two tight end and just have a good tight end that could score. But I love when people are saying it's going to be a wide receiver, picking between the two and then not really playing the quarterback in comparison to the others. So I'm definitely going to be in on Dak. I think you can play him with all three of those guys. I'm not going to, do again, you're going to have just so much going on a 3-game slate, but Dak, CD, Pickens, and Ferguson, pick a couple of them. In some, I'll even have 4 of them. I just think that's going to be key. Everybody likes the Mahomes side. I'm definitely, and the $5 or something. Yes, I'll play some Mahomes and try and play into the mustache bit and get him right on a slate. I think it's a great spot in that game. I think both teams, I said it, I don't think Dallas D is as good as everybody sort of thinks they got. They gave up a ton of first rounders or whatever the hell they had to give up to get there. I think Mahomes can have a good game, but as we've seen, if someone can have a good game, so can the quarterback on the other side to push it. And I think when people are picking between Pickens and Lamb, I think you can play them both. So I like Dak with those guys. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this game stack is even if, Mahomes does end up the most popular, as he probably will, Kelsey is down the board, not super popular. Xavier Worthy, not super popular at a very affordable price. Hollywood Brown, you can't pick who the last guy is. That's the best thing for a short slate. Why I always say never Mahomes is more for main slates, and on short slates, we want those unknowns because Worthy could have a huge game and that would crush a lot of 2 tight end lineups and things like that potentially. So yeah, I'm in on the Dallas side in this one. I'm going to go with Dak and 2 of Lamb, Pickens, and Ferguson for my main. I like that call quite a bit. So Alex, any final thoughts, man? If not, let the people know where they can find you, everything you guys have going on. And again, thanks for joining us on this, a special edition. You and I will be back on Saturday, of course, but this was awesome to do with the 3 of us, and with the Thanksgiving slate being so awesome every year, this just made it even better.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad you joined us, Hoop. Everything from FTN, whether you like the DYR, DVOA stats or the ownership stuff, all that you can find at FTN. And then my Discord, kind of talking all this DFS theory, and we've been crushing the props and pick'em. It feels like every single time we come on here, it's like in the last couple of nights, I just hit another 3-pick or 6-pick over in the NBA streets for underdog. So if you want any of my Discord stuff, any of the FTN stuff, just go through my Twitter at Alex Blickle1. You can find whatever you need through that. Yeah,
you bet. Hoop, any final thoughts from you before we get out of here? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just to clarify, Nate was wondering what my lane was. I don't know if I fully brought it full circle, but it's definitely under on the Cincinnati stuff and kind of playing the Baltimore onslaught, which obviously would mean a lot of Derrick Henry, a lot of Baltimore defense. I really like Baltimore defense here. So that'll be, and it's going to be combine that with unders on the Cincy stuff. So that's kind of my official lane. But yeah, thanks for letting me join in. Like I said, these shows, these series have been very helpful to a lot of people. The comments have been amazing in regards to this show that you guys run every week on Saturdays. And you get 2 of them this week. Saturday, unfortunately, will not include me, but I had fun here. Glad you guys let me hop on, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and good luck. A lot of big prizes around the industry.
Yeah, shout out to our man Lando with a little comment here. Says, not looking at the slate until tomorrow, just dropping a like and saying happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for all I've learned from Tambo and Hoop over the years.
Certainly, just give us the defense. He's the defense whisperer. We need the defense for Thanksgiving. So hit us with that before we get out of here.
While we wait, actually, I will say again, yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone in advance. Like I said, even up in Canada, I'll be celebrating it with you tomorrow. There's no better slate each year. He's with you, though, on Ravens D. But we have Alex here, and he probably has to go. But Alex, we got to get this. Hoop and I just did this on the other day. The show's over. Don't need to promote anything else. People saw the promos. If you want to join us, go ahead. But just noting it, where do you stand on the Thanksgiving food? And is it good? Is it not cooked because, it's hard to cook? Is it you got to cook it right and it's good and people just never had good turkey? Where do you stand on the Thanksgiving food?
It's fine. I'm in on the turkey. I'm in on the mac and cheese. I'm kind of out on everything else. But what I will say is I always go to my aunt and uncles, and my uncle is now a phenomenal sourdough bread baker. So I'm very much looking forward to all these different types of sourdough breads. He's making a ton. And, give me a piece of bread with some cheese, with some turkey on that. That will be very enjoyable. And then, breaking tradition a little bit with that, but whatever makes the day best, right?
I seen this recipe yesterday. One thing I like about turkey, I already love it. Hoop's out on it, but I think it's great. I love turkey sandwiches. I like the day after. I like everything else. You guys can throw some more food takes. We'll hit out. How much time you got, Alex? We got 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Max 5, yeah.
Max 5. Okay. He's not in on the food stuff as much. We'll get him. One quick thing. There was this amazing next day recipe. You get those King's Hawaiian sweet roll buns and you put turkey, mac and cheese, and then you put a little more grated like marble cheese or something on top. You could do brie, whatever. You close it up. They were putting like a brown sugar, salted butter, and Dijon mustard glaze. And then you bake it in the oven, and those are your next day sandwiches. Those are insane.
Yeah, now we're talking. I can definitely get behind something like that. I actually think I would probably say I prefer this Thanksgiving Day stuff like the next day opposed to like the main day, just because of that sort of thing. Like you can get yourself a nice little turkey sandwich out of the fridge, some turkey, some cheese, mayonnaise, mustard, whatever you like it with, or some gravy. So I prefer the stuff the second day. But yeah, for us personally, I told you guys before, we're not doing any Thanksgiving food. My mom's doing a pasta bar, a bunch of different pastas with some different sauces. We're Italian, so it kind of fits into that.
Leftovers are what Hoop is really saying, though, just so people catch on to this, is he's saying it's important to have the right seasonings and additional add-ons. So it is potential that he just hasn't had a good turkey. Because he said when you add the mustard, the mayonnaise, the seasonings, the cheeses, all this stuff, it's like you just got to make it better. So this is what the people really want to know, though, Alex, and then we'll get out of here. Go ahead on that one, Hoop. Hit that
I'm not picky when it comes to the wine. That's one thing. We talked about a little bit with the water, like the the different waters, the taste of different waters. I can rarely taste the difference in like wine. Like I drink red wine. To me, like I really just don't taste the difference. So I always just get some sort of Costco wine. I'm not a big like fancy wine drinker sort of person.
That's insane. You cannot imagine saying you can't taste the difference in wine. Like
tastes the same. Like a $10 bottle to me tastes the same as a $100 bottle.
All right, the big one for Alex, then we'll let him go. Need to know. So the big one is, how do you get your steak done? If you eat steak, I assume you do. What's your style of steak?
I actually don't eat steak. All poultry.
There we go. See, he's on my side then. That's on Hoop's side.
Now that as soon as I said it, I think we talked about it on the Mastermind interview, and you brought this up there too.
I eat so much chicken.
That's
just an absolutely absurd amount of chicken.
Yep. Now you're gonna get shit on. We better end this. We better end this stream pretty quickly.
That's totally fine.
People are so sensitive. People are so sensitive about the steak stuff. I'm the same. If I have a choice between steak and chicken, I'm taking chicken every day of the week.
And Nades hit you with a hard one. We shit on Nades. When Nades gets you with a good one, I'm pulling that up. He said, of course, all the wine tastes the same with burnt steak. Tastes like shit. Yeah, that's a good call, Nades. You got it, man. I love that one. So, all right, Alex, thank you, man. Really appreciate you as always. And everybody out there, again, happy Thanksgiving to you. Let's have a good one tomorrow. Bring home another Millie Maker to the nation. That would be nice. For Hoop, for Alex, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.